I have a question for you. Yeah, that's right, you. What is your longest Pokemon win streak? I know we've all seen the screenshots on Twitter of people's win streaks, very good, but I want to know, what is your best win streak? Mine is 16, and I actually have it on video where I did a play until you lose challenge, and it went rather well.
Yeah! Woohoo! Did not expect this, guys. I did not expect this. I'm cold. I'm hungry. And we just can't seem to lose.
But what if I told you this man right here has your best win streak beaten? But he didn't do it on TCGO, however. The story I'm about to tell you is one of the greatest multi-tournament runs I've ever seen in Pokemon TCG history. Let's get involved. This is Alex Dow, a good friend of mine and an all-round stand-up guy. I mean, who else do you know who would concede a Nationals final match to his friend after he had already won so they could both get top 22 placements?
Alex had his paid invite from top 22 anyway. Ollie didn't, so by giving Ollie the win, he gets the paid trip.
Meaning his friend could get a paid invite to Worlds too. What an absolute legend. He was planning on going to the Milan Grand Open in May 2017. This was one of the first events that had Guardians Rising legal. Now with hindsight, we know just how bonkers Guardians Rising was, with a strong case for being the greatest set of all time. But back then, it wasn't so obvious. However, we all knew that one card from this set was going to completely change the format. It's honestly really hard to portray just how seismic really was. For one energy, Trash Lance did 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard pile. Absolutely insane. Couple that with the fact that the average damage needed for an Oko at the time was 180 to 210. Only 10 items were needed to have been played for Trash Lance to come here and take your lunch money. Not only that, but Choice Band was in format 2, effectively reducing the number of items needed for an Oko by 1. Make no mistake about it, Garbodor was, and probably still is, the greatest late game attacker of all time. As if it couldn't get any worse, Breakthrough was still legal, meaning that Garbotoxin Garbodor still exists, acting as the perfect catalyst for Trashalanche. By turning off all abilities, you force your opponent to play differently. Sure, they might have the Field Blower in deck to regain their abilities, however, they're gonna have to dig hard for it, resulting in items hitting the discard pile, meaning Trashalanche just gets stronger even faster. And don't get me started with the ridiculous back-breaking turn that was Enter 1, Garbotoxin plus Trashalanche KO. Such a scary situation to be in. Drampa GX was the early obvious partner for Garbodor, with its Berserk attack doing 150 damage or 180 banded, provided any of your bench Pokemon had damage counters on already. An extremely easy condition to fulfill, with Magma Base and Rainbow Energy both being in the format. Magma Base, remember that for later. Drampa also had Righteous Edge for special energy removal and Big Wheel GX, which was extremely synergistic for turn 1 plays to ensure that all the combo pieces needed for Berserk were in hand, as well as maintaining Garbotoxin lock. Espeon was also paired with Garbodor 2, providing a more disruptive angle, with Psybeam proving to be an early game irritant, forcing your opponent to dig for switching cards or risk confusion coin flips. Psychic offered a strong Oko options provided it's hitting a loaded attacker. Divide GX would let you spread 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Divide GX. Keep that in mind as well. Other decks Alex could expect to see include Deciplume, a fast-moving deck that aimed to get Decidueye GX attacking with Razor Leaf as soon as possible. Don't let the damage output fool you, however, since Decidueye actually is Inteleon's granddaddy, because Feather Arrow, its ability, allows you to put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And with that 20 to 60 extra damage per turn, Razor Leaf starts to add up rather nicely. Now combo that with Vileplume, which will stop all items from being played. Feather Arrow, keep that in mind as well. Turbo Dark aimed to get a ton of energy into play as soon as possible via Yveltal's Oblivion Wing and Max Elixirs for super high, fast damage output. Turbo Lapras played very similar to Darkrai, except it had Aqua Patch as well, making a turn 1 Lapras swinging for 190 damage not too uncommon. You still had decks like Mega Rayquaza and Greninja still hanging on, with fast Emerald Breaks and Giant Water Shurikens combined with Shadow Stitch still proving too much for a lot of decks to handle. So what would you tell Alex to play? Would you tell him to play it safe with the new best late game attacker in format, Garbodor? Would you tell him to spread damage while item locking with Deciplume? Or would you tell him to go all out aggressive with Lapras, Darkrai or Rayquaza? How about I told you that Alex, the absolute madman, didn't choose any of those? He went for Gyarados. Gyarados, a deck that had the potential to OHKO anything in format, with its full retaliation attack doing 30 plus 30 for each damage counter on your bench Magikarp, maxing out at a colossal, world-shaking 210 damage or 270 damage banded. That's right, 270. Because of Gyarados' ancient trait, it means it can have 2 tool cards attached at one time, allowing for some silly combinations such as double choice band, double bursting balloon, or how about one of each for good measure? Why not? This is what I told you to remember Team Magma base from earlier, as this is how we're going to get damage into play. Team Magma Secret Base puts 2 damage counters on a Pokemon when it hits the bench. This allows for super explosive turns with cards like Teammates, allowing you to get 2 cards from deck on the back of a KO. Octillery, which allows you to draw up to 5 cards in your hand. And Dive Ball, allowing for free water type Pokemon search. Along with Lele and Shaman, we have a seriously consistent deck that is fast, powerful, and capable of beating anything. However, it has one big glaring weakness. The bench Magikarps were so vulnerable, with only 10 HP left at any time. Any deck that had absolutely any way of targeting the bench could be potentially game ending for Gyarados. And with such a huge reliance on items, Vileplume was as close to an auto loss as it could be. So with 2 of the best decks in format having huge advantages over Gyarados, how do you think Alex did in Milan? He went undefeated, of course, playing 10 games in Swiss and winning every single one. Mega Gardevoir got mega wrecked. Greninja can Grenin and get out. 2 Lurantis decks? Luhu, jog on. With his perfect record, he could afford to ID twice and see himself into Top Cut. In Top Cut, however, Jinrik's Drampa Garb deck had a sneaky tech that could prove disastrous for Alex. Steam Siege Hooper had Hyperspace Punch, which for 1 energy did 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. This is big trouble. And even though Alex got a sneaky game 1 donk on lone Trubbish,
nice,
that Hooper came in super clutch in game 2, swinging the series back to 1-1.
bench extra Magikarps, he drew the energy on this game.
And game 3 was a super close affair, but with Octillery providing some super clutch draws, Alex was able to take the dub and move through to top 4. With Drampas having to hit the field eventually, Alex was able to catch up the prize trade and win. However, in top 4, Alex matched a Greninja deck, but not just any normal Greninja deck. A Greninja deck that had a vicious 1-card answer for Alex, which could prove to be his toughest challenge yet. Not only is Greninja a 1-prize deck that has access to ability-based sniping, rendering Gyarados' effective prize trade null and void, while slamming bench Magikarps, but Simone was also running a copy of this Greninja promo. Aqua Shower was played in order to provide an opportunity to KO bench Garbodors. However, in a cruel twist of fate for Alex, this is a perfect way to deal with bench Magikarps as well. This was a long, hard-fought round, with games 1 and 2 both being split, going to a pivotal game 3. However, Gyarados proved to be the victor, and in Alex's own words, Greninja was probably the toughest match I had. A mixture of rushing their setup, taking prizes as quickly as possible, and bench management. The finals saw Alex square off against Espeon Garb. However, with Gyarados effectively not caring about Trash Launch, and with Espeon needing 2 attachments to still not OHKO a fresh Gyarados, and giving up 2 prizes at the same time, Manuel's main path to victory was via Divide GX. And that had to be extremely beefy, and Alex was able to play around it with careful bench management and raw aggression.
So that's a game for Alex. He's won. Congratulations to him.
Alex had done it. He won the Milan Grand Open, going undefeated in doing so. There wasn't a lot of time for him to celebrate, however, since he turned his sights on Birmingham Regionals a couple weeks later. However, in that time, 2 new cards entered the format, one of which seems to be an absolute auto loss for Gyarados. Tapu Bulu GX was now illegal, but due to strange releasing schedules, it was extremely hard for us to get over here in Europe. However, if you could get your hands on some, you had a powerhouse. Tapu Bulu's Nature's Judgment did a crisp, clean, OHKO-worthy 180 damage, provided you discarded all energy attached. Sling a choice band on there and you can literally OHKO every meta relevant card. With energy acceleration being powered by Lurantis GX or Vikavolt, you would turn Tapu Bulu into a fully automatic shotgun capable of cleaning up anything that was in its way. And if anything had over 210 damage, you just use Tapu Koko first. Wait, no, not that Tapu Koko. Oh no, this one. And this card was definitely Alex's biggest hurdle yet. Basic Pokemon, check. Free retreat cost, check. Attacks for 1 attachment, check. But the most damning part, however, is that this Tapu Koko promo card was extremely splashable. What deck didn't want a 20 damage spread everywhere on a basic Pokemon with a free retreat cost? So all the Garb decks, Bulu decks, or even Ninetales decks could play Tapu Koko and have an immediate answer to Gyarados. In response, Alex put a 1-1 Machoke line which protects bench Pokemon from damage counter placement or damage respectively. But considering Tapu Koko will be in a lot of Garbotoxin decks as well, this could get rough real fast. However, this is Alex Dow we're talking about, and he breezed through day 1 undefeated again. Going through another Greninja deck with the promo, Alola Ninetales which could snipe via Ice Blade, and 2 Vika Bulus. Day 2 proved a breeze for Alex again as he wrecked a Lurantis Bulu and a Drampa respectively. His undefeated record mean he could ID 3 times and see himself into top cut. In top 8, Alex matched Ovind playing Darkrai. While there were some things Alex had to worry about, such as Stardust Dirachi, at the end of the day, Darkrai was the only card that could provide real offensive punch, and that means Alex could just prize trade his way to victory. However, in top 4, Philip Emmerich's Vikabulu had Tapu Koko promo with Super Rod and Brock's Grit as well, meaning multiple flying flips could wreck Alex.
But as this looks at the moment, all it's going to take is something like Philip getting out the promotional Tapu Koko, and all of a sudden the Magikarp gets KO'd and the other Magikarp gets KO'd, and then he's taken 2 prizes with a non-EX attacker.
However, unfortunately for Philip, the natural inconsistencies of playing a stage 2 deck happened to catch up with him in top 4, resulting in 2 almost donks.
Now, Alex Dow is our winner, and we'll move on to the final of the Pokemon Trading Card Game Birmingham Regional Championships. And delighted for Alex here. Commiserations to Philip. He's playing a...
So here Alex is in the final of Birmingham Regionals. 1 best of 3 away from taking down 2 regional championships back to back without losing a single round. The final, however, saw Alex play against a new deck that we haven't seen here yet. Zoroark Break was a super strong 1 prize attacker, being able to copy any attack from the opponent's active Pokemon. This was actually rather crazy considering it could copy Nature's Judgment, Trashalanch, or even Berserk, all for 1 single energy. However, copying full retaliation would do diddly squat, meaning Zoroark Break will have to rely on the other Zoroark, which does have Mind Jack, a hard-hitting attack that does more damage depending how many bench Pokemon your opponent has. And this attack could prove troublesome for Alex, but it can still be played around. This Zoro deck was paired with our good friend Drampa. which was a good attacker, sure. However, with no obvious Gyarados counter in Brian Peach's deck, Gyarados did what Gyarados does best. Destroy things.
We also then just see a Professor Sycamore and Brian pass over, and that's it.
What
It's
just
a double colourless.
happened?
It's Tapu Lele.
Well, with a little help from Tapu Lele, I guess. And that's how Alex Dow was able to win 2 regional championships back to back without losing a single round. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Honestly, it means the world to me. If you could drop a like or maybe even subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see more. Check out this video here if you want to see the greatest Pokemon World Championship story never told.